A wonderful morning to everyone who has joined today. From Manage Engine family, we would like to extend our warm welcome and sincere thanks to all of our customers, partners, and users who are interested in our solutions. Endpoint management and security is one of the main focus areas of Manage Engine. So let me introduce myself. My name is Harsha, and I'm a product specialist with Manage Engine. So I take care of endpoint management products, including Desktop Central. I'm also a seasoned technical support engineer, assisting customers in their implementation, consultation, and troubleshooting in case of any challenges. So in today's webinar, we will focus on endpoint management solutions, which has different product portfolios under management and security. So once again, welcome to the Desktop Central training. So let's have a look at the training schedule. We are on week 5, which is remote control and tools. This is one of the modules in our endpoint management and security suite. So if you look here, we have already completed for patch management, unified endpoint security, software and asset management. In case you have missed any of our previous training sessions, not a problem. Simply visit the link on the screen and you can view those videos. And if you're interested in the upcoming webinar for onboarding and integrations, along with configurations coming up on September 29th, you can register yourself using the same link. I would also like to inform we are offering a certificate of participation for our attendees, and it includes all the 4 series, which is going to be conducted over 25th, and it will be ending September 29th, that is this month. So for any additional details, simply visit the below link on the screen. So let's begin. Today we are on week 5 and we are going to be looking at remote control. We will focus on the options in remote control and the other tools that Desktop Central offers to manage your endpoints in a distributed environment. So let me start with the agenda. First, we'll have an overview of the different difficulties in managing endpoints in a distributed environment. So we'll see the uses of remote control and the other tools in Desktop Central, along with some real-time examples as you see here. So for example, notifying your users with an announcement regarding the patching cycle, raising a request from an endpoint and directly taking control of that endpoint to troubleshoot it, even creating automated tasks that help you mitigate issues like system slowness, and enforcing IT policies for monitoring your endpoint productivity. And finally, we will kick off with some frequently asked questions. And you can always raise your questions from the chat panel. We will be answering them live towards the end of the session. So without further ado, let's begin. So let's assume there is an IT admin by the name of John, and he's responsible to manage a distributed workforce, meaning he has to manage computers from different locations, as you see here, like Chennai, London, or Bogota, and he has to manage a total of 10,000 devices. Now, as you can see here, there are different kinds of users, WFH users connected by VPN or connected by internet. So this is the on-premise architecture where you see the clients are speaking to your Desktop Central on-premise server or even the distributed servers. And this is an example of the cloud-based architecture where the agents can be managed directly by your Desktop Central cloud instance. So John will have to manage different types of users like I mentioned earlier. So users who are connected by VPN, they will have low bandwidth because the files are transferred locally. whereas users that are connected via internet, so on-premise, can be managed through a secure gateway server, and the cloud version offers out-of-the-box roaming user management. So you can always manage your users irrespective of their internet connectivity or LAN connectivity. So given this current pandemic, these keywords, work from office, work from home, or back to office, will be quite common in your conversations. So let's see what are the different IT challenges. I've mentioned a few of them here. So you'll have to perform planned patch updates. You will require proper collaboration tools, or check the security compliances for devices that come back to your office. We will see how these different kinds of users can be managed and distributed through Desktop Central. So before I jump into the tools module, just a quick introduction on what Desktop Central is. Desktop Central is an unified endpoint management solution where you can ensure that your endpoints are secure and enables the users to use them effectively for business. So a popular research analyst by the name of Forrester defines UEM as a product that can provide a centralized policy engine for managing and securing laptops, mobile devices, all from a single unified console. So Desktop Central has something known as an Unified Endpoint Management Edition, or rather the UEM edition. What is the UEM edition? In Unified Endpoint Management, you can manage your endpoints both in traditional management as well as modern management. So what I mean by traditional management is pushing out your patches, desktop configurations, getting complete asset data, remoting into your devices, or imaging your devices as well. Whereas modern management enrolls modern operating systems like Windows 10 or Mac OS for additional functionalities like location tracking, that is geo tracking or geofencing, remote wiping of data, enforcing policies, and deploying apps from the Windows Store or from the App Store. So a combination of traditional and modern management can be done through the UM edition of Desktop Central. So this is the entire scope of the UM edition of Desktop Central. So like I mentioned, we have patch management, which takes care of both operating system and third-party application patching. We have application, asset, and configurations management to ensure your applications are deployed and policies are enforced. You can also consider the mobile device management to manage iOS devices, Android devices, Windows or Mac OS, and even your Chromebooks can be managed. In modern management, which is for Windows and Mac, geo-tracking, complete or corporate wiping of data in a complete kiosk mode, and a distribution of profiles can be managed. And we also have operating system deployment, which allows you to create images and deploy them to Windows machines. And please be informed that Desktop Central is available as a cloud version as well as an on-premise version. We also have a dedicated version for MSPs or managed service providers, along with an RMM tool for management and monitoring. Do let us know in the chat if you require any more details. In addition to this, we have security add-ons like browser management, application control, device control management, and vulnerability assessment as well. I would also like to inform that Desktop Central is recognized for the best endpoint management tool this year yet again for 2021. And as described by our customers in the Gartner Peer Insight Customers' Choice Award, we are also recognized in the top 4 IDC MarketScape reports for UEM solutions this year. Here you can see the different categories that we are recognized. And we can visit this link if you require any more details. Hence, with Desktop Central, the unified endpoint management will allow you to manage desktops, laptops, mobile phones, tablets, servers, your point of sale devices, and even your browsers, all of this from a single unified console. The supported operating systems. Yes, we do support all the major platforms, Windows, Mac, or different flavors of Linux, which you can see over here. So even the latest Big Sur operating system from Mac OS, your Windows Server operating systems, and different flavors of Linux can be managed. So let us see how the tools can be effectively used on your distributed workforce. So some typical examples would be, resolving a help desk ticket, performing a remote control activity, enforcing a policy, or communicating with the end users to keep them informed. So let us see of how that can be leveraged. First, we can see about making announcements. So John and his IT team are looking to patch their end users on the third Saturday, and they would like to inform the users in advance. So how can this be communicated to the end users through Desktop Central? It's quite simple. Let me show you. First, let's access your management console. So this is the Desktop Central Management Console where you can perform all of your managed activities. And we are going to be focusing at the Tools tab, which allows you to perform remote control. So here we have the announcement functionality where you can simply create an announcement and compose a message to notify your users between a specific period of time, and you can choose to target multiple users or the entire groups that you manage, and based on the importance of that message you can choose to notify them once or multiple times at frequencies of your preference. So let's say every 2 days between today until the third Saturday it can be configured. So as an example, I've configured an announcement to notify our users. So the exact same message will be displayed to the end users as well. And this is how it looks in the end users monitors. They will see the same exact message. It will pop up on the center of the desktop, and they can choose to minimize or dismiss this announcement that is generated. So similarly, we can look at other common use cases. So let's see, there is an end user by the name of Bob, and he wants to raise a request to troubleshoot certain issues. He is facing an issue with Adobe Acrobat. He wants the application installed, and he also has some issues with the display adapters. So he's raising a ticket regarding this. Let's see how John can help Bob regarding these issues. So Bob has raised a ticket and he wants to first see the ticket. So let us assume that I'm John and I'm going to navigate to my ticketing solution. So if you're not aware, there is a ticketing solution which integrates with Desktop Central known as Service Desk Plus. It's our in-house ticketing solution that has a tight integration, and you can get asset data, allow the users to raise requests, and add remote resolutions and work logs. So in the ticketing solution, I can navigate to my request tab, and in Service Desk Plus, I can see that the request Bob has raised, that he wants Adobe installed and he wants to display and troubleshoot the display adapter issues. So me, John, as a technician, I can access this ticket and I can see the details raised by Bob, and I can directly initiate a remote control to the end user from here. Since Desktop Central is integrated, I can simply hit on remote control, provide a reason message for audit purposes. So let's say for troubleshooting, and the request ID 3. So 3 is the request ID which is automatically entered. And once I hit on initiate, Service Desk Plus will leverage Desktop Central and a web-based remote control will be initiated. And it's quite a powerful tool. It will help you with multiple monitor support, and you can have complete remote control access of the end users. So you can switch between your preferred monitors, you can view them simultaneously, and you can also make use of the inbuilt functions. So you can switch between the full screen or the actual screen. You can trigger Control Alt Delete, Alt Tab. So let's say you want to install Adobe Acrobat and you want to access the secure share without notifying Bob. I can choose to blacken the monitor for Bob so he does not see the confidential activities or the secure share that I'm accessing. So once I blacken monitor, I can go ahead and access the required secure share and then perform my required activities. I can switch between the monitors if I require that. I can also quickly initiate things like Command Prompt or File Explorer. So without having to drive through the operating system, I can directly access it from my quick launch option. And I can access the required secure share and install the application as required. You can also have packages created from Desktop Central. So under Desktop Central, I can simply go to my software deployment module and create a package from Adobe, which we have as a predefined package. And once I have a package created, I can actually deploy the applications directly from my custom actions. I can choose install or uninstall software, and I can specify the name of the application. So he wants Adobe installed. I can choose Adobe Acrobat and choose the computer and choose to install the application. And I can automatically close this request upon successful installation of the software. So applications can be installed silently directly from the ticket, or like I showed you, I can initiate a remote control and perform my required activities. But let's say that I don't have enough knowledge to troubleshoot the display adapter issues. How do I go about solving that? I need the help of another technician. So yes, Desktop Central allows multiple technicians to connect to the same remote control session. So let's assume me, Bob, I require assistance of my colleague, Peter, who is well versed with fixing display adapter issues. So let's assume I'm Peter now, and I'm accessing the remote control or the console from a different browser. So I've logged in as Peter, and I can navigate to the Tools tab, go to Remote Control, and I can already see that the remote control is initiated. So when I click on View Desktop, it is alerting me that John from IT is already sharing this desktop. Do I want to continue? So I can simply hit on Yes, and I can join the same remote control session. So that way, both John as well as I can have the same remote control session initiated and assist the end user, that is Bob. And once the remote session is completed, I can choose to automatically update the resolution for the remote control as well. So I can be notified what remote control and what resolutions have been provided. So even Peter from his side can initiate a session outside when Bob is controlling as well if required, and enter the same request ID that was initiated. So that way, the amount of time I consume for my remote control sessions, the resolution, and the steps for the same will be automatically updated in Service Desk Plus. So that way, I can be informed of what steps were performed and how much time was consumed in each of those remote control activities. I can also initiate the remote control directly from my Desktop Central console, and the product will also allow me to attach additional details to the ticket on completion of the remote control activity. So let's say I finish my required tasks over here and I access the device manager and I install the required drivers or I update the drivers. Once completed, I can close this remote session window and you can see it will ask me to specify the work log for that. So the ticket is already selected. I can specify this as closed. I can say installed Adobe and Peter helped with the adapter issues. I can add a resolution and I can add a note as well. So once completed, I can simply hit on save and you can see Service Desk Plus will be updated. So you can see instantly I've been notified that some notes have been added. So if I go to the resolution, I can see what resolution was added. I can go to the work log and see how much time was spent and what description was entered by the technician. And you can see the history as well for that specific ticket. And the ticket will be automatically closed, as you can see on the top right. So this way, from a tight integration, you can easily tackle your IT challenges from remote control to instant software deployment and multiple technician control access as well. So now we saw how remote control looks like, but how does remote control actually work? So essentially, the technician one, that is John, he logs into his desktop central console, searches for Bob, and initiates a remote control. It initiates a communication through the desktop central server from the notification server for on-demand operations. And then the target client is initiated for the remote control session. And when Peter, my colleague who wanted to join the same session, he could access from the, let him be the technician too. He can access the same remote control session because the same images are being broadcasted to both John as well as Peter. So when technician 2 connects to the machine, this gateway component, which are listened by the ports 8443, it will broadcast the same images and it has the intelligence to identify the existing connection, what John was already using. So this gateway component will share the required images to the technician 2 and he can perform the required remote control activities. Now, you're not just limited to the typical remote control activities. If you want to provide like additional assistance, like troubleshooting system slowness, you can create automated tasks or perform on-demand activities to resolve these issues. So let me give you an example. For troubleshooting system slowness in your distributed environment, what are the typical steps that we would take? We will look at the task manager and see what is consuming the highest resources, or if I want to stop a service, or let's say I want to check the event logs and find out what's happening, check whether they have enough disk space, or I can configure an automated task to clean up the disk space in a scheduled basis. I can also remotely access command prompt and get instant output without disturbing the end user. So let me show you how this can be achieved through Desktop Central. Switch to your Desktop Central console, and from the Tools tab, I can see the different functionalities that are available here. So here I can access System Manager, see the devices that have the agent installed. I can search for users by their IP address, logged in user, or the computer name. And I can hit on Manage over here to silently access these features. So let's say I want to access the task manager or services. I can just select it, but the end user is not disturbed in any way. There is no bunch of command prompt or task manager popping up in day screen. It will be running silently in the background. So I can filter by seeing what is consuming the highest memory, and I can simply kill the process silently from my management console. I can access, for example, command prompt if I want to instantly run a command and get an output without disturbing the end users. I can transfer files to and from the machine, or I can view the event logs and find out, what kind of error has occurred at what time, and even export this report as PDF, CSV, or Excel. So all of these options that you see on the left-hand side, from accessing the shares, printers, the device manager, all of this can be accessed silently and perform the actions for the same devices without disturbing the end user. In addition to this, if you want to perform an automated task, let's say a disk cleanup on a scheduled basis, I can simply go to my system tools operation. System tools are nothing but health check tools that can be run on a scheduled basis. So like check disk cleanup, or disk defragmenter can be selected and executed at a time of your preference. So you can configure storage sense for the higher versions, or for the lower versions, you can choose exactly what kind of temporary files you would like to be cleaned up on a scheduled basis. You can target your exact computers based on sites or based on the computer names, and it's up to you when you want to schedule it. So you can run it automatically during a low free disk space. So storage sense can be automatically triggered, and you can choose the frequency for this task. At certain weeks, let's say the end of every week or the end of every month, you can choose like the last day or last Sunday of the month, for example, for it to be automatically triggered. So there's a bunch of customizable options that you can choose from to run this healthy scheduled task to combat issues like system slowness and so forth. In addition to this, you can also perform on-demand conversations with the user. You can search for a user by their IP, username, or computer name and engage on a text chat, voice, or a video call with the end user without having a remote session. Of course, you can initiate this directly from the remote control session as well. So now we have seen what are the common features of the remote control or the tools module in Desktop Central. Now, let's see what are the other typical scenarios we combat. Enabling IT policies to monitor endpoints productivity in your distributed workforce. So let's say you're looking for a user logon report, given users are work from home, you want to see what time they have been logged in, or maybe for some audit reasons, you want to find out the user logon details. In addition to this, you can view the power management reports, meter the usage of applications, and the each web activity can be monitored and viewed as well. So let me show you. Once you navigate to your Desktop Central console, you can simply access the reporting module where all a bunch of different reports will be displayed. So you can access the user logon reports and see what you're exactly looking for. Are you looking for the currently logged on users, or rather the user logon history? You can see the different users of what domains and simply click on the logon count, showing you on what computers, what time the users had logged in and logged off as well. Of course, you can filter this from a start time to an end time if required to. Similarly, for power management reports, you can see the system uptime report that shows you the total uptime and downtime of a machine. And you can see when the machine was last shut down and restarted as well from the detailed view. You can also use, let's say a machine was shut down for a long time and it has wake on LAN configured. You can also use the tools module to initiate a wake on LAN request to wake that system up from their shutdown state. So if they have wake on LAN configured, you can leverage Desktop Central to instantly wake that machine up using the wake on LAN functionality. You can also meter the usage of applications. So under reports, you can see the bunch of different reports that are available. You can use our predefined inventory reports. And here under software metering, you can create a rule to initiate application trackage of applications and then see the total usage duration, the last time the application was used. So let's say you want to find out how often Word or Excel is being used. You can view them simultaneously through the product. Also, nowadays, majority of our applications are web-based. So how do we track your browser activities? So under the admin tab, there is an endpoint security add-on that is available, which allows for vulnerability and threat protection, data loss and encryption, and browser protection. So I'll show you how to enable them. Simply go to the admin tab, go to endpoint security, and simply enable this module, and the required functionalities will be enabled on your Desktop Central console. So that way I can access the browsers module and perform complete browser management, application whitelisting, and so forth. These functionalities were covered in our previous session. So do let us know in the chat if you're looking for the link for the training video for the endpoint security add-on. Now let's talk about the architecture of Desktop Central. This is the on-premise architecture. So in the on-premise architecture, you will have to install the Desktop Central server application in any Windows machine, preferably a server, and that becomes your main server. This is an agent-based solution, so the agents can be installed on the endpoints that you want to manage. You can by default manage VPN connected or LAN users. If you want to manage internet connected users, you can configure a secure gateway server, which can be implemented on a separate Windows machine, preferably in the DMZ of your network. So your roaming users through the public IP of your secure gateway server, they can receive the patches, they can be remotely controlled, and you can enforce your IT policies to all of your distributed workforce. You can also choose to install a lightweight application known as a distribution server for better bandwidth management. So without having to push patches individually, it can be replicated to a server and then distributed locally for effective bandwidth management for your different remote sites. And Desktop Central not only allows you to manage an open network, but closed network management and patching can also be done. So if you're working in a very secure environment without any internet access, you can simply visit the below link or ask us in the chat on how closed networks can be patched and maintained. Of course, the on-premise solution can be hosted in a cloud provider of your choice. So it can be AWS or Azure. You can simply install your primary server in each of those cloud providers and manage internet connected users and even LAN connected users securely. I'm also glad to announce that Desktop Central is available as a SaaS method where it's a cloud hosted solution without requiring to host your primary server or perform any maintenance. We have a cloud solution that allows out of the box roaming user management. So there is no requirement for a secure gateway server, and you're by default provided with failover service for maximum availability. So you can navigate to desktopcentral.manageengine.com to try out right away. So now that we have seen how remote control can be used and the architecture for Desktop Central, let's see typical or frequently asked questions. How do you measure the time spent by technicians who are handling the tickets related to desktops? So this can be done in two methods. You can access your desktop central console. Simply click on the Tools tab. You can go to Remote Control and see the total usage duration for the remote control. Or it can all be automatically added to your ticketing solution. So you can see the work logs that were added and the overall time that was consumed for the remote session. You can also add time analysis and get SLA details too. So both under the work logs as well as from the desktop central console, you can view these details. You would like to monitor the activities of students in your school without their knowledge. Yes, this can be done. If you want to switch to a monitor only mode without disturbing the end user, simply access the tools module again in desktop central, go to remote control, and under settings, simply disable this option where the users can be notified regarding the remote connection. So once you uncheck this option, the users will not be notified that you're remoting into their systems. You can also choose to hide the remote cursor during the remote control session. And you can choose to enable view only mode where you can choose to monitor the session without performing any accidental remote control activities. So through these options, you can choose to monitor your students without any issues. Let's say you're a healthcare company that requires to be HIPAA compliant. What can you do to achieve this? So one of the main requirements for HIPAA compliance, which Desktop Central is notifying the end users regarding the remote control. So under the Tools tab, when you access remote control, you have the option to prompt the end user for confirmation. Simply check this option if you want to request the user for approval. You can also click on the user confirmation box where you can add additional options like the timeout for the confirmation and a dynamic message that is shown to the end user. You can also make it permanent. So after the first approval, it will not ask for additional approvals. And let's say there are some test machines or server machines. You can exclude those computers so you don't have to ask for prior consent before remote control. You're installing and configuring IIS on a remote machine and you find the process complex. So you want to document this process and you want to use that video or document as a material for your new joinees or new technicians. So yes, you can document all of your remote control sessions using the screen recording option. Simply click on screen recording and you can enable the screen recording option where the videos can be saved at the end of your remote control activity. And you can secure your downloaded recorded videos and you can notify your users as well regarding the remote control activity. And under the history tab, you can choose to download the video directly from this view. So you can download this locally and share it to the end users. I find my remote sessions are slow when you're in different country or you're trying to manage your roaming users. So bad internet connectivity is a very common issue, especially when it comes to remote control. So how do you combat this issue? Based on the remote control performance, you can simply access the performance tab. And for every remote site that you manage, you can specify the compression quality and the color quality. So you can reduce the color quality and the compression quality. Based on this, you can have optimum remote control performance, even for users that have bad internet connectivity. One of your users suspects that an unauthorized remote access was performed and he has raised a request to me, IT manager John. So is there a way to audit all the remote control to his machine? Yes, you can. You can simply go back to your console and the history section will show you the audit for all of the computers, you can also click on the computer section and click on this icon that shows the complete history for that device alone. It will show you which user has remoted. So the previously when I used John and Peter, you can see they have been recorded the total duration, and if screen recording was enabled, I can download the video right away from this view. So yes, I can audit all of the actions, not just remote control in Desktop Central. You have a few servers hosted in a no-man environment, and your company policy demands to get the user's approval before remote sessions. So how do you do this? So you can exclude those servers under the user confirmation dialog box that I showed you earlier. So simply go to user confirmation. You can enable this as a global option to prompt the user for request every time. And for your no-man machines, simply add it to the exclude computer list. So I can choose between the different options or computers that I have, and I can add it to the exclusion list. So I will no longer request this computer for any kind of confirmation, whereas the other machines will still require confirmation before remote control. So this is a very easy method to exclude your servers. Now let's look at frequently asked questions as well, now that we have completed our scenarios. If you're running the Desktop Central mobile app, can you initiate a remote control from your mobile app? Yes, you can. The Desktop Central has a mobile application for both Android as well as iOS. From the comfort of your mobile device, you can access the remote control option, search for the specific device, and simply hit on the remote control icon. It will ask you to enter a reason for connection. You can enter any message and hit on connect. And it's a very interactive remote control where you can use gestures like pinching in and out, long pressing and dragging, double tap for different activities. So from the convenience of your mobile phone or your tablet, you can remote your servers in case of any emergency. So it's a very handy app that is freely available in your mobile play stores or app store. You can also silently access features like the system manager, where command prompt and task manager can be accessed silently. And you can also shut down, restart, hibernate, standby, or lock your devices directly from your mobile app or from the Desktop Central console based on your preference. So it's a very powerfully built mobile app. Second question, does screen recording require to be enabled prior to enabling the remote control, or can it be turned on during the session? It cannot be turned on during the session. So if you want a session to be recorded, ensure that you enable the option prior to taking the remote control. So before you remote into your devices, enable screen recording and then go to computers and initiate a control for that session to be recorded. The recorded session can be downloaded from the event history here or from the history tab. To allow multiple technicians to work on the same remote machine, does that require additional licenses for Desktop Central? The feature itself is free of cost. It does not base on the license. But in order to add additional technicians to Desktop Central, you require to have sufficient licenses. So under the admin tab and user administration is where you can add technicians. So based on the number of technicians licenses that you purchased, that many number of technicians can be added, and all of them can access the same remote control session. So technician licenses are required to add the technicians, and once added, they can make use of any Desktop Central features. Will the remote control automatically reconnect the session? Yes, let's say you performed a restart or a reboot from the remote control session. Once the machine has been restarted and the agent connects back, your remote control can be automatically resumed. You do not have to initiate another remote session. Your remote control screen shows the port 8443 is blocked. So how do you resolve this? So it might be a scenario where, and another application might be using this port. So you can either choose to kill that port, or you can change the port from your desktop central console. Simply click on the admin tab, scroll down, and you will see the tools setting. So click on port settings, and you can see the default ports that are used for remote control, silent access and chatting, and for file manager. So based on your requirements, you can change these ports, and then your agents will use those ports for the remote control activities. Is it possible to take remote control of a roaming user? Of course you can. You can perform and install a secure gateway server, or rather in your DMZ of your network. And through the secure gateway server, your internet connected users or roaming users can be managed. And if you're using the cloud version, you have out of the box management for roaming users. Just install the agent and you're ready to remote into a roaming user. If you require any additional details, request us in the chat for the secure gateway server. Does the wake up feature, or rather the wake on LAN feature, requires open ports in your routers in order to send wake up commands to your remote client computers? So yes, there are some prerequisites that are required to perform wake on LAN for your remote users. So under the tools tab, simply click on wake on LAN, and the prerequisites will be shown right under that page. The IP directed broadcast should be enabled on the router, and at least one machine has to be alive in the same subnet as your target computer in order to send the MAC address. You can also leverage the settings option to configure the wake on LAN settings in the agent computers. And the broadcast address can be configured for your devices too. If you want your remote control sessions to be automatically disconnected if a technician has been idle, how do you do that? So you can simply go back to your console, navigate to the Tools tab, click on Remote Control, go to Settings, and here you can configure the idle session settings. So just enter 10 minutes or whatever value that you want. And if the technician was idle for 10 minutes after initiating the control, you can choose to disconnect the remote session after 10 minutes, or disconnect and lock the computer as well if required. So you can configure these options right under the Settings tab. Your company wants to employ stringent privacy policies that limits technicians and admins from accessing the end user files and folders. So if you want to limit your technicians from accessing certain features, you can do that in Desktop Central. You can simply click on the Tools tab, or rather the Admin tab, and scroll down to the Tools setting. So the port settings is what I showed you earlier to change the ports. You can access the System Manager settings and choose the options for File Manager and Command Prompt. Since these are sensitive features, you can choose to enable for all users, or only for the admins, or disable for all users, or you can permanently disable for all users based on your organization's request. And for these two functionalities, although they are completely silent, you can choose to notify the users before accessing their files or accessing their command prompt. And only on their confirmation, you can have access to their files or command prompt if required. So this will further help you in achieving your HIPAA compliance requirements as well. So it is available under the Admin tab, System Manager settings. So before I continue, if you have any questions, please raise them in the chat window. We can have them answered live. So if you have any technical questions, please do raise them and we'll be glad to address them.
Thank you so much for the presentation, Harsha. It was a wonderful presentation. So, Trust, can you hear me?
Thank you, Felix. Yes, your voice is audible.
All right, cool. So, I was actually answering a few questions, and it would be great if I can answer some of the questions to everyone. So, one of the questions that was asked about excluding computers within this remote control. So, for any user confirmation, if there is any option to exclude in a group rather than a single computer. So we have an option there. So if you could point it to the user confirmation. Yeah, there it is. So we can exclude computers, but right now it is going to be based on the selection, not on a group. However, we can use the comma separated option at the very bottom below. So you can bring it to a notepad and then bring each and every computer as a comma separated. And you can put it here and you can exclude it easily. So we just need to do a few steps, bring it to an Excel sheet, and then we can convert it to a CSV. Then probably you'd be able to exclude on a particular remote site entirely. But we cannot choose in a group right now. I think in the recent version, probably it is enhanced, so we'll be able to do that. I see an option there, so probably it is possible in the latest version, but not on the previous versions. Right. And another question is about changing the IP address of an endpoint. So normally, IP address will be based on the DHCP server. So if the DHCP server is available, then you do not have to change that. But normally, in order for the agent to connect, we need an IP address. But it is technically possible via system manager accessing a command prompt, and we need to execute some commands. Possibly we can achieve this. However, you may lose connectivity as soon as you change the IP address of a workstation, but it's possible via system manager, or you can create some screenshot to do this remotely. Right. And then, so I have also received related to the certificate. So certification for this training series. So normally the certification is offered for a participant with all the sessions who attended all the sessions. So probably we can communicate back if you have any questions later on. And the remote control, another question is about remote control for Linux. So remote control in general is supported for all platforms, so Windows, Mac, and Linux operating system. But for Windows, you have some more options within this viewer. So you can add transfer files, you'll be able to do black and monitor and stuff like that. It's within the remote control, so thank you. But for the Linux and Mac, it is going to be more related to the a remote control option. So we are yet to bring some advanced controls, file transferring options like that. But we will take it as a feature request for now. Right. And so another question about the agent connectivity. So agent connection, it shows it is down, but I see the computer is online. So there are possible reasons the computer is unable to talk to the server on the port 8027. And another important port is 8383. So Asha, if you navigate to the NAT settings, probably we can show what are the important ports required for agents to communicate. So if the ports are reachable, 8383 and 8027 are the important ports to deploy, as well as for any live status to show up in the portal. There are other two ports like 8443 and 8031 for the remote control and file transferring during the remote control. So we need all these ports should be open on the server. So it is going to be inbound to the server from the agents. As long as they are open, should be able to initiate these actions. How do I troubleshoot this? So we can make use of an agent tray icon. There is a troubleshoot option from the agent machine itself, or you can access the agent troubleshooting tool from the bin folder from the program called x86. Yes, he is trying to show you there. Yes, you can make use of it to see the machine is able to connect with the server, notification server, and all the components. So this is the best tool to troubleshoot the agent connectivity. And if you see all connections are working, but still it is showing red on the server, probably you can reach out to support. So the support team will be able to assist you on that. Right, I'm looking for some different questions here. Right. All right, so can I install the Desktop Central on any computer, or does it have to be a server operating system? The hardware spec is really the matters, right? So as long as you have a hardware, that is, in order to manage up to 250 computers, we need 4 gig of RAM and 2 cores, 4 threads. As long as you have this, it can be even on a Windows 10 operating system, where you can install the server and test it on a couple of computers. But the server operating system is recommended for the large environment where you need to manage thousands of computers. So you can really feel the better performance. But in general, as long as you have the sufficient hardware, you should be able to install the server. Right, I'm saying if there are any different questions. All right, so another question about the difference between on-prem and cloud version. So we are providing UEM edition on-prem as well as cloud. So the OS deployment is the component that is missing on the cloud, which we are working on it. So hopefully we can expect the OS deployment in the cloud the first quarter of next year, 2022. But other than that, it has the UEM functionalities. And in addition to that, Harsha was initially talking about the security features, like application control, browser management, BitLocker management. So there are some security add-ons which what we are offering. If you look at the screen right now, there are some menus at the top shows as new, right? So those features are security add-on features. So these features are provided as one single add-on called as a security add-on, which is available only in the on-prem solution. We are working for cloud too. So again, we can expect as a part of the post deployment release in next year. So we do not have an exact ETA, but hopefully we can get the security add-ons as well for the next year. Apart from that, we have few functionalities that would be missing, so it will not be a deal breaker. So do not have to go in depth on that. So right now there is a slight difference, but in terms of desktop management, you get all the features. So trust that answer your questions. Right. Great. I'm looking, just reading some of the important questions. I think I have pretty much covered some important topics there. So there are some questions that would be answered on the chat. So I want you guys to wait for a couple of moments there. Probably we'll be answering those questions. Right. I think that's all for the live question and answer session. So thank you everyone for joining. I hope this training was helpful. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Felix. So I would also like to inform that we have Remote Access Plus, which is a standalone solution. So if you're specifically looking for just remote control, you can consider Remote Access Plus, available as on-premise or even a cloud-hosted solution. If you're requiring for software deployment, patching, and a bunch of other functions, Desktop Central is the way to go. So if you require more details regarding either of these products, simply visit the below links or request us in the chat. We'll definitely help you out with it. So I hope this session was informative. If you think you have learned anything new today, please do rate us, where 5 is the best. If you think this might be useful for other admins or technicians, please do spread the word. And don't forget to sign up for our next training schedule. In September 29th, 6:30 GMT and 11:30 Eastern Time, you can attend the webinar for setup, onboarding, integration, and configuration. If you require a personalized demonstration, simply visit the below link or request us in the chat. We can have that scheduled. Thanks a lot for your time. I hope this was informative. Have a great day, guys. Goodbye.